Hello, my name is Andy and I am the village idiot, and I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to Bassetlaw and the parish of Carburton. Carburton, which is sometimes spelt with an E as opposed to a U, is a small village on the west side of Clumber Park within the Bassetlaw district of Nottinghamshire. It stands on both the River Poulter and a small flood dyke on the road to Ollerton, just to the south of Worksop. Nottingham is around 24 miles away. Carburton's parish boundaries cover a swathe of forested area to the south, where it borders Purlthorpe-cum-Budby, and there's also a smaller forested area to the northwest. Generally speaking, the land is very flat and open otherwise. Water is a prominent feature in this area. Carburton sits between the Welbeck estate Lakes and Clumber Lake. Towards the end of this video today, we'll go and take a look at one of the Welbeck lakes, as it has a special history concerning Carburton. We can walk around this one in kind of a circular fashion. There's a footpath which runs alongside the flood dyke, which means we can use that to go one way, and the road, Lime Tree Avenue, to go the other way alongside the Poulter. So running the whole way through the village is Lime Tree Avenue, which is a big long road which takes you from this part of Bassetlaw up to the junction with, well, almost to the junction with the A1. It runs all the way through Clumber Park, and a little bit later we'll be entering Clumber Park on this very road. Carburton was once a Roman settlement, and it was deep within Sherwood Forest. In 1848 it was written that Carburton was part of the Hatfield division of the Bassetlaw wapentake. The township contained 193 inhabitants and 1,516 acres of land. The common lands were not enclosed here until 1818. The Duke of Portland was the sole owner and lord of the manor. However, the Duke of Newcastle owned about 40 acres, which was enclosed in Clumber Park. Today, it's primarily rural and residential here. Strange as it may seem, Carburton was once the centre of the iron industry, with forges here from the 1650s until 1783, about a mile west of where the village is now. A forge here was developed by George Sitwell, and it was powered by the River Poulter. That was the era when charcoal was still commonly used and not coal, whilst the use of water power was also important, with some local iron also available. Pig iron for Carburton was imported via Hull and also supplied inland from Vale Royal in Cheshire. In the reverse direction, bar iron was sent to London via Bawtry and Hull, and to give an idea of transport needs, an average of 150 tonnes of iron were being produced per year in the 1730s. There was also once a corn mill in Carburton, rebuilt in about 1621 when a fulling mill was also built. Carburton is one of those parishes which has seen a sharp drop-off in the number of people living within it. Data from the 1881 census shows that the population of Carburton then was 191, and this had decreased by the 1911 census, which revealed a population of 141. The 1951 census showed a drastic decrease, with a population of just 108. By 2001, only 75 people lived in Carburton, and in 2011 it remained less than 100. The details are usually grouped together with the nearby parish of Clumber and Hardwick. The number of houses in Carburton has fluctuated throughout the years. Strangely, whilst the population has fallen, the number of properties has increased. The record high came in 1961 with 41 houses. Carburton Parish covers 9.2 square kilometres, and the average house here has a value amounting to £386,000. That's not the easiest of stiles to get over, especially in this cold weather, because it's a bit muddy and a bit wet. Almost slipped and fell in this dike here. Wouldn't have liked that. Carburton, given its very small size, doesn't have many amenities. In fact, there are only two main things. First of all is the old school tea rooms at the western end of the village. In 2013, the old school tea rooms was taken over and renovated to make it more homely and welcoming, whilst keeping the character of the former 1930s school. There's a display here about the Carburton water meadows, which we'll get to later. The other thing is the Church of Saint Giles. It's an unusual shape and dates back to the early 12th century. Parish records date back to the 1530s. The church was considered a chapel of ease until 1867, but it closed for services in 2017. A small edifice, this is said to be stood on land liable to flooding. There was no mention of the church in the Domesday Book, as the place always seems to have been quite small. It's a simple parallelogram that's 50 feet long and about 15 feet wide. It's made up of a chancel and a nave, as well as having a porch to the southwest and a small vestry to the northeast. It still has 3 of its original windows, 2 at the east end and 1 on the south side. The remaining windows, 2 on the south and 1 on the north and west sides, were possibly replaced during the reign of Edward I. There's a roll of honour within that shows the names of 22 parishioners from Carburton who served in the Great War, including those of the 2 fallen. The names of the fallen are annotated with a red cross. The most obvious natural landmark here is the River Poulter, which flows in an easterly direction through the village towards Clumber Park. The river is quite the important landmark too. Whilst the iron forge may now no longer be here, what is still here is Carburton Forge Dam, a Welbeck estate lake in the Poulter Valley. Whilst no evidence remains, the name of the nearby charcoal plantation attests to the industrial activity around the iron forge. There are theories that some of the remains of the forge are submerged within the waters here. As well as regulating the flow of the River Poulter, Carburton Forge Dam provided the water supply for the Carburton water meadows. Speaking of the water meadows, here they are, and they sit on the opposite sides of Ollerton Road. The County Council have recently restored the Carburton water meadows. A water meadow, for those unfamiliar, is an area of grassland which is irrigated by water that's constantly flowing as opposed to stationary. So there's more than one of these water meadows. The one I've just walked along the side of is Middle Meadow, and as you can see there's another one over there. I don't know what that one's called, but we're about to find out. Carburton's meadows are just one of the Welbeck Estate's water meadows. Just before we leave Carburton behind, here's perhaps its most interesting landmarks. These are the Carburton lodges and gate piers. Grade 2 listed, they stand at an entrance to Clumber Park. Dating from 1789, they're made of ashlar with slate roofs. The next Bassetlaw episode will explore Clumber Park in much more detail. Briefly here though, it's a landscape park with formal and ornamental gardens to Clumber, a former country house constructed between 1768 and 1778. Time for today's picture bit, which will focus on mainly the forested areas to the south and up to the northwest. Here it comes right now for the parish of Carburton. And there you have it. That is the very small parish of Carburton here in the south of Bassetlaw in Nottinghamshire. Now, I'm now going to go through those lodges and gate piers and in to Clumber Park, because believe it or not, Clumber Park is part of a parish itself. It's the parish of Clumber and Hardwick, and that's coming your way next week. But for now, this has been the parish of Carburton, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.